Hi everyone, I am Tara, aka Spirit Mother, and I would like to welcome you back to my channel on YouTube, Spirit to Spirit Teaches of Going Within Self, and I'm live on my Facebook. So, unable to go live on TikTok, however, I am recording this, and if you're new to my channel, I would recommend suggesting I really encourage you to check out my YouTube channel, Spirit to Spirit Teaches of Going Within Self, and your discretion to get a better understanding of what it is that I bring to the channel. Like people, they get irritated because I use their life as an example. I use I go into the political stuff, I go into the medical stuff, the justice stuff, because those are experiences that I've had through, and they're experiences that I've observed others having through, and it's don't just say about it, actually bring it forward. And there are some people who are afraid because to speak up. You never know, like I know like the things that I'm experiencing right now. I know it has to do with the fact that I'm speaking up, but like I said, I don't work for the matrix. I don't work for the system. I work with spirit. So, some look at me like I have 100 heads, and maybe I do. My channel's not for everyone. And I go down a lot of different rabbit holes because spirit puts me there. It's like I start on one part and then it takes me all down the rabbit hole. And as I said in a previous video, that I'm talking about like the government, Revenue Canada, and it's the political side of it. And I'm going to affiliate it to certain movies and what have you, because I find it very ironic that in this, it led me to a name, which was very ironic because it was the name the same as what was this movie. And they both had a political position. They both had a higher up government position. And it's like, don't try to understand the language, just go with it because it's spirit bringing different things forward to help to bring it to the people in a way that they can understand and wrap their head around it. And sometimes even, it's hard to comprehend things because people are saying, well, it's the movies. Well, here, I'm affiliating the movie with actual real life. Okay? Because I went down the rabbit hole of finding out about what reforms the person has with regards to Revenue Canada, if Revenue Canada has done those people wrong. And it was like when I seen this, like it was like all I could think of this word when I seen this person's name. And then it took me to the movie Evan Lane. Okay. He worked for Congress, right? He was a newsman and then he was offered this big job, this big office, and what happened when he went to bed one night, he prayed to God and asked God, like, what can we do for you? So this actually it destroyed his life, but only in the period where he was exposing it. He was the one, Evan Almighty, the one who built the ark, okay? And it had to do with Long Lake, okay? I wrote it down because I thought of that movie. The reason why I thought of that movie was because I was looking to find out if the complaints department were people to put a complaint in with regards to Revenue Canada. Right? You have no good thing too for that. Okay, well, I thought, and it brought me to Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, Ritardarísimos, okay? And it brought me to, ironically, the minister, Secretary of State, and Parliamentary Secretary of State. Okay, now, as I said a number of times before, with regards to the duration that they are allowed to be in office, some of these have 15, 20, 30 years in office. Okay, but according to the criminal code, the Charter of Rights, I am bringing you here because, your government, these people, they make up your laws and your bills and everything, right? Am I not right? Right? So democratic rights, okay, is this not this proposed to it? Okay, because the one I'm gonna get to, he's been in 15 years. I have it here, 3 or 4 durations in Brunswick. But according to the Charter of Rights Criminal Code of 2004, it states maximum duration of legislative bodies. Okay, it's section 4, number 1 of the Constitution, rights and freedoms. No House of Commons, no legislative assembly shall continue longer than 5 years. Well, is that not them? So how are they legally in there? Legally speaking, according to their own code. But I guess they don't go by the own code of ethics, right? Hey, let's roll up the sleeves. You want to duke it out, man? You know, why are you not rubbing your own code in front of their face for making you live by it, right? But people won't get that. They'll say, oh, well, you did all right. Hey, with all due respect, I wasn't the one that gave up my vote for somebody else to speak for me. So I went down the rabbit hole, okay? So if you're familiar with the movie Evan Almighty, if you're not, go through it. Because it's talking about what in that, it's talking about what Fox was, you're saying about all these dams are putting up. So they came up. And this is what Evan Almighty was about. And it had to do with Longley. And the dirty guy was Congressman? Oh, yeah. Which, ironically, in Canada, we have a Secretary of State who ironically has named the Honorable Wayne Long. What is it trying to say? Seriously, it doesn't matter really if someone is conservative or liberal. They're both just as dirty. They just kind of had one more feel like they're conservative. I would say those are the ones that believe they're all holier than thou. And then you have the liberals who, how do I explain it? They're more open minded. And for the sense, they are weird face. They're not they're doing it really funny. Whereas conservatives, they try to put it in the under low. I've actually, like, through the church, I've actually seen it. It's like you only put bits and pieces, but you cover up the dirty stuff. Whereas liberal is more right out there and shouldn't be right to your face. Like, plain wrong. Secretary of State, Canada Revenue Agency and Financial Institute. Well, right now, a lot of people are having a problem getting in contact with them. People are trying to get in contact with Revenue Canada due to their income tax, due to Revenue Canada screw up. But if you screw up and you're like, hey, you're human, right? So as long as they continue to push you off to the side, because it's saying that there's 230,000 people that's on a waiting list to have their call returned or speaking with. What is that? They say that it's because there's less people working. I have to ask, is it less people? What is it less people working? Is it because, the less people we have in there, the less chance people that we actually owe money to can't get in contact with us? And then the money that we're paying the people, or was paying the people that no longer work to help the people, they're taking that money and giving themselves raises with it, which in actuality, according to the criminal code, they shouldn't even be doing it. Hey, you made the rules and you ain't fucking breaking them now, are you? You tell everybody else to live by the code, criminal. If you're a criminal, you say you live by a code. Well, apparently you do. You live by your own code, but you don't follow the code that you set for other people, right? Right there. It's like, pero si quiero tener su tutorial con le Anna. Seriously, you're all dirty bastards. And it doesn't matter if you're a woman in on it or not. But I find it very ironic because the three bigger people that have to do with finances are all fucking men. Most ones in the most powerful seats always become a man. Why? Because if you don't let the peppers stick up, they cry. Or because they think that women need to be under them. So are all these men actually conservative and playing liberal? Because liberal are for women too. Because they believe in equal rights. So I believe that, people, doctors should be mutilating people to switch their gender. No, it's entirely up to yourself. But hey, if you're doing it to a fucking minor, is that why you're trying to get it changed to a legal adult at being 15 so that they can say that? What? You can't hop them up at the rear anymore? Oh, no, wait. You want it that way so that you can do it legally. Do you know people will say, do you pay income tax? It's like everybody pays taxes, no matter where they get their money or how they get their money, because every fucking thing they buy, your kids are Yeah. So, hey, Long, let's let's. Sorry, I'm just looking at something. See, look at Bill C4. Now, when I sit back and watch people who have been trying for months to get in contact with the weekend, it, it causes for alarm. Like, they even had it on CBC News, but it was only like a 2 minute thing. So this type of stuff doesn't get a lot. My question is, why is CBC not in deeper into the financial institute? Because the government gives them money or bailout, whatever you want to. So they become biased, when in all actuality, CBC, local, and all the news facilities that are getting handouts from your government so that you work for them. You just remember that's our money. I've said, when people want to make a statement, how do you make a statement? Everyone lives in fear. If I don't pay my taxes, then I get penalized and I lose this and I lose that. Say if you don't pay the taxes on the land, shouldn't you only be paying taxes once? Why are they taxing you every year? They say, oh, because you live it, don't you own the property? You know, I go buy with pen, right? I pay tax on it. If you don't get my point, then you really step aside. That's simple. Then you pay tax on this pen once, but you're paying tax on your land every year. Are you buying your property every year? But you know, I'm just I'm not gonna like right there is got the question, and I'm the stupid one, but it's not about stupid. It's about the ignorance of it, the lack of understanding of it, and actually seeing it for what it is. Because I guess you pay property tax every year. You're paying for buying your property, and one's like alone, and his two others, sorry, okay, and the minister, the Honorable Francis Philippe Champagne, Minister of Finance and National Revenue. Raise the roof! Raise the roof! Seriously, ¿tuviste lo que tenías rodillas ahorita? Parliamentary Secretary Ryan Turnbull, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance. So he is the Secretary to Francis, Francis, however you pronounce his name, Minister of Finance and National Revenue. Revenue and Parliamentary Secretary to the Secretary of State, Revenue Agency and Financial Institutions. So who oversees this? Going down the rabbit hole. I'm looking or not. So I put in the Minister of National Revenue answer to, okay? The Minister of National Revenue, Myra Claude Bibeau, Bibeau, has recently addressed concerns regarding whistleblowers who have reported issues within the Canadian Revenue CRA. She emphasizes that leaking confidential information confirms compromise the integrity of the tax system and can undermine undergoing investigations into tax fraud. Can we put tax fraud on you because you guys are constantly committing tax fraud on the people? A little hypocritical, huh? Going after the fucking little people when you were the dirty ones? You know, you might take this down. Hey, you know, maybe more people need to stand up and speak up like that instead of worrying about whether you're going to have any people taking it. You know, this thing in September, the people going to Ottawa, do you have it organized enough to know what the bigger picture is that you need to be going in about? Not all, like, I mean, there's a lot of small things and there's the gigantic things. But they're distracting you with smaller things, fighting over petty little stuff and not looking at the big outcome of it all. No, like I'm not offending the ones that did it last time because that was like the rights of your for trucking for the vaccine or not the vaccine, or the mandates or not the mandates. And I totally understand that because that is one of your freedom to protest. And that was violent. No matter how anybody wants to try to wrap their head around and say, well, it was noise. Because sometimes noise is all they hear. But that they then, when they put it like it's one way or the other, you're going to have both sides going at one another, but you're going to have the one that doesn't want this taking place. They're going to infiltrate and they're going to cause a lot of havoc and then blame it on the protesters. And I'm not being rude, but that you all know that it's usually your government doing. And I'm not just talking about I'm talking about both. You're fighting with one another, they can keep sticking your money in your pockets behind your back, keeping you distracted and saying, hey, you know, we can't answer you right now. You know, in COVID, people were getting $2,000 a month. Okay. That was for lost wages because everything shut down, couldn't work. So that was like a wage subsidy. So if it was a wage subsidy, when everybody went back to work and it was tax time, those people that left it didn't have to claim almost the whole thing, or not all of it. So that would say that you have wages. But you're being taxed for it. telling you what way to believe or not to believe. I'm saying, hey, but instead of doing that, you want to put shade on people who are actually speaking up about see the elephant in the room that you're speaking of is that one that not everybody can see. And the companies that do see it, the delusion, or you're just trying to cause trouble, or well, you just go shut up so you can, like, these mandates can stop. Well, if you're blaming people who are standing up to this stuff so that the mandates can stop, who the fuck is the problem? Because it sure the hell ain't the ones that's standing up and saying, hey, this is injustice. The treatment and punishment is cruel and unusual. Hey, Section 12 of your Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms under legal rights. Right there. Section 12, treatment or punishment. Everyone has the right not to be subjected to any cruel and unusual treatment or punishment. It's $25,000, $30,000 fine. They're just trying to collect money. That's all they're doing. But they're the ones that create control. Because even the United Nations backing up on a video, whether modification needs permission act. Done a couple days ago, something like that. And I actually put a picture of where right in the thing I put it in between the lines. And I told you very literally in between the lines. I'm saying about the United Nations wrote the rule, and that was not my word. They're using that to collect more taxes. But people won't see it that way because your firefighters are out there fighting fires. They're fighting fires because of the corruption within your system, your financial system. Hey, long. When in actuality, it's time to call the bill because it's all been there for 5 years. So legally, whatever they've done, it's not about putting a dictator in there. Those are the dictators. But you're too busy saying, oh, well, we're going to get a dictator, we're going to get a dictator. You're already in the dictatorship, and that's why they're all in there so fucking long. Excuse the pun. Just because somebody doesn't make it. Oh, wait, I didn't just have a grading. I entered the courses as a choice student. And then I went to Dalhousie University and got 6 certificates. I was told that I did something that most people in 2 or 3 months, I did something that most people did over a 2-year period. And I wasn't. It's not to say that I'm smarter, because I'm saying you're just as smart. We just have the reason why we don't seem one way or another. It's because we're too busy with our heads in our asses trying to sniff our way out when it's not about trying to sniff your way out in the dark. It's about looking at what causes fear and having a view in your ass so that you can just, instead of opening your eyes, you can see. So let's read that in. The Minister of National, okay, so we got down the Minister of National Revenue, Maria Claude Bibeau, has recently addressed concerns regarding whistleblowers who have reported issues within the government revenue agency. You know, right on to the whistleblowers. So you don't sign an oath to the people, you sign an oath to them saying that you'll fight the corruption. You know, the government extorts people and blackmails people, abuses people, not just their employees, but you too. Only you just don't see it that way because you see abuse in the one. She emphasized that leaking confidential information compromises the integrity of the tax system and can undermine ongoing investigations into tax fraud. Well, it's time for you guys to be investigated for, the biggest tax fraud scam ever. And that includes staying longer than you need. Review, review, reviews comments were made during a Senate committee hearing where she defended the CRA's efforts to combat fraud and criticized attempts to silence internal critics. See, you do. It's that part, like the whistleblowers, okay? Would they not be the ones that, you would think to be the ones who would actually oversee the corruption, oversee the government and say what's right? So if somebody's coming forward and saying, you know, this is what's going on, and this isn't right, like, we're going to expose it. Just remember, government officials, those people don't work for you. No matter what fucking oath you get them to sign, they don't work for you. They work for the people. But you'll try to shut that down because it's like the result. You get this secret that you get, and that's the part of you want to try and silence people. And you will abuse your power in order to do that. So was Evan Almighty telling us that? Because you guys too in the States, you have a law in the United Kingdom, the UK, and all around the world, you will have that law. So when I do see people trying for months, whether it be for personal or whether it be for estates, or have you, or even holding up estates. Why? because they're trying to figure out a way to steal it all from you. You know, it's around how you think the town got this property because I'm sure the property because one of them, Revenue Canada owes people tens of thousands of dollars, some hundreds. Millions. Some people are in life 30 years old and in home and the biggest majority of the businesses, which, the government officials, the ones that are getting these big wage, cushy wages and getting government housing and funding to go on planes and everything like that. Hey, they have it in private jets. Like, you can't like everybody else, they go on right to a plane. They'll say, oh, if it is such households, they would need the protection because they will not be worried against somebody wanting to, slap them upside the head a few times and say, hey, why do I hear rocks coming? You know, wealthy people didn't have power, but you don't realize how they got their wealth. It's the worst kind of wealth because it's affiliated with everything. We don't need your policies. Oh, I want it for someone to come on right now. Just confirmation. Right? Should we be living by certain forms of a structure that's people oriented, where everybody is people are treated equally, they have the same advantages because it's supposed to be the world growth, not one country being rich over the other. That's why you're fighting with the United States because he's got a hard arm on everybody and he's saying that they're stealing from him. Stealing, they're stealing your jobs, stealing your manufacturing companies. Is it that they're stealing your manufacturing companies, or is it that you know you're the crooked one and you're the one screwing it over? With all the respect, sir, you were saying that you're the American dream. and finances. So they're both how to manipulate the numbers. And, to a point, Donald Trump doesn't know what he's fucking doing because he's speaking to you in parables and riddles. But you have to be able to speak parables and riddles and speak rhetorical language like him, right? You have to understand him. I see good that he's doing. I see the chaos that he's doing, and I see the backdooring that he's doing. And he's saying he needs to get here. He's into real estate. He's also into oil. His long life. He's all for the pipelines, which Carney, I believe, is more of natural resources, more environmentally friendly. Because we did the Democratization Information Act live video, and the United Nations had it. There was a way of putting in what was the first of the United Nations that they put there, someone put it there, and it said about like the climate change is man-made, and it's because of the fossil fuels, the fires right now in Nova Scotia. Look into it, realize that this uranium that they've been after for years, but kept it under wraps, and now it's getting more intense. They have to expose it to you and say, "Oh, well, we're just doing it. We're just opening it back up now. You never fucking shut it down." And you go into write reports that just put your hand on the Bible and swear nothing but the truth, or the truth, nothing but the truth, but not when you have a fucking truth going in your body. But I said one thing there yesterday. It's not money it's the ones in charge of it. Buy a house, buy a house, buy a house, buy a house, you pay taxes again. But you'll really be daft enough to think that that's the way it should be. How fucking work will you? Yeah, people say they do our roads and everything. Do you know they have the technology to build roads that don't deteriorate? Where do you think you go to these different cities? The ancient cities. Shit from then. It's still there. But a year after they put a road here, it's fucking traffic. And then you in it. And then you got to go take it to a automotive place. So it's not. It's done on purpose, but you won't see that, right? Because you think our technology is so like out of date or so technical. It's actually out of fucking date. No, Fuck! Shit! I just asked, how much taxes does Revenue Canada bring in annually? This is how much taxes Revenue Canada brings in annually. $447.8 billion. Super. And just think, this is just you. This is not really, I don't believe, many businesses because, they get these incentives. Nonprofit organizations and churches, they don't pay taxes. So, how many churches are there in Canada? The number of non-profitable organizations in Canada because they don't pay taxes. 135,000 nonprofit organizations. That's in 2021. More than 135,000 nonprofit organizations are active in Canada, while the overall number of active nonprofit organizations in Canada remained relatively stable from 2020 to 2021, plus 0.9%. The number of those operating in rural and small town RST areas dropped by 2.6%. Okay, so in Canada, okay, so you take all the stuff that non-profitable organizations put in as far as funding, okay, because they're all in none of anybody except for you. They might do a little bit, even a non-profitable organization like FutureWorks, it gets funding from the government. So do you not see that the government is putting in for a reason? It's called funding. Oh, crap. And that was in 2020, 21. And now there's a whole hell of a lot more of those because, more different forms of churches are coming out and more people are doing, I was saying businesses are hiding it under nonprofit. So you take all that money and add it to the four 448 $449.8 billion that they already bring in annually through that's just through income tax. Oh, sorry, 447. And then there's enough profit that the church is exempted from taxes. So where is the money going? You say it's going into education, it's going into your kids. A lot of it on right now. And every time you have to go, the roads are terrible. Every time you hit a pothole, you have to go in and get a new rim, maybe even a tire, or you have to get a new suspension. But now when you go and you're trying to get a hold of them because they owe you money, you can't get a hold of them. And now you have all these fines and if you go here and you get a fine for everything. See, if people want to sit back and not say anything, then why are you saying anything to the people who are actually standing up about it? Does it disrupt their comfort? Or people will say, oh, well, it's like this, nothing's going to change. The reason why things don't change is because of people like yourself. It wasn't until the last couple of years, 2 years, that I started looking really deeper into politics and now genealogy to kind of understand everything, what transpired, because by going into your own genealogy, you actually see the truth of it, what you perceive to be time, but it's all in the now because if you look at your history and the movies about the future, shit, not about a prophecy, it's your own fucking self-fulfilling prophecy because you want to believe bullshit. You're creating exactly what narrative is saying we want you to create so that we can be right. Not doing what's right for people, but wanting you to look to them and kiss their fucking feet. Go fuck yourself. Anyway, shut up, let you fucking go. You know, it's like spirit won't let me focus on anything else right at the moment because I'm not going with my head and my heart because I see the individual. But it's not part of it, standing up to the injustice. But like somebody said yesterday, that justice is just like revenge. Just revenge is through anger. Justice is more of holding them accountable. Revenge, you just want to hurt them. So justice, you want to be responsible for their actions. You can't just make them responsible for the actions and just say, that's the end of your life. Because you wouldn't want that for you. Your government privatizes everything. From prisons, non-profit. I know they're privately owned, but are they considered non-profit because the government doesn't like give some funding to it? Imprisoning people is possible. Rehabilitating is not. Should specifically be given wage incentives. Yes, it should be for everyone. Or better yet, the corporations should pay them because if you work with people working for them, they'd be the ones. I'm just saying with you. Yeah, understood the demons. on next. I'm not playing on them, saying what they really should be. Makes too much sense, right? Where won't you? You're in your memories, right? And they're usually the deep ones because of the scars, the battle wounds. Yeah. Mhm. No, I don't say it as if it's my own. I'm saying what I'm hearing. And if you happen to be the one I'm hearing, then you're okay. You know, it's not easy working for spirit with spirit at all. And you every day to up through the horrible. This is horrible. It's healing. And stuff all at the same time. Everybody goes hard and say they're safe. Even when God puts the silver there, you don't see it, you don't believe it, because you can't even see it in yourself whenever you're looking at it. You know, maybe Jesus is very regular and Florida at therapy session. And they share their own stories. So I tell people, here, you know, hey, share your story no matter. You know, I know someone who living in Canada was a lot of money. And there's so many others out there in the same boat, and it's been going on for years. But see, they hold it off, and they distract you into thinking that, oh no, you did it right. But then you're, because I've known it, and it's like, wait a minute, you know, either you're lying to me about what you get, or Revenue Canada is royally screwing you. Because the numbers and the amount owing just didn't add up. You know, almost at this moment, it's like, Dad, too bad you weren't here because I know like you're pretty decent at math. Okay, now I'm seeing maybe where the income tax comes in. It's Bill C4. Sure, the act may be cited as making life more affordable for Canadians. R1, Income Tax Act. Subsection 117(2) of the Income Tax Act is replaced by the following. Rates for taxation year after 2024. The taxable under this part by an individual or the individual's taxable income or taxable income in Canada, as this clause may be in the subdivision referred to as the amount taxable for a taxation year is 14.5% of the amount taxable. If the amount taxable is equal to or less than the amount determined the taxation year in respect of 57,375. Oh, hey, Donald, is this why you're like, is this why you guys are all hiring family? including the Canadian government, because, people are finding out that, it's their family that's getting in with them and their friends and what have, keeping it. Now, you all know that, but here, how do businesses get through tax loops? Businesses can navigate tax loopholes by understanding the different structures available, such as LLCs and S corps. Limited liability company. What is a limited liability company? It is a popular business structure that combines the liberty protection of a corporation and the tax benefits of a partnership. Here are some key points. Ownership. Owners of the LLC are called members, and there are general and no restrictions on ownership. Liable protection for the LLCs provide personal liability protection to the members, meaning personal assets are typically protected from business deaths and claims. Taxation. LLCs benefits from pass-through taxation where where profits are taxed at the individual level rather than the corporate level. So is it meaning that it's their salary and not what the corporate level brings in? Oh my god. Information process varies by state, okay? And it is essential to check local regulations when starting an LLC. Flexible LLCs can be constructed as single member or multi-member entities, and members can choose between member management or manager management. Okay, so that's LLCs. S corps. S corps. Go down there. Rabbit hole with me, or you don't have to be in here. Taxation ownership and compliance requirements. Overview of S corps. Taxation classification. An S corp is not a separate business entity, but a tax classification that allows profits and losses to pass through to shareholders, personal tax returns, avoiding double taxation at the corporate level. Ownership restrictions. S corps can have a maximum of 100 shareholders, all of whom must be, oh, this is for U.S. citizens and residents. They cannot be owned by any corporation or partnership. Okay, so oh, here it is. Contact Minister of National Revenue. The minister appreciates receiving comments, suggestions, or compliments from taxpayers. My question is, if somebody gave you a suggestion, would you follow it? Does your heart speak to the people, or does your greed? Because when greed speaks to the people, it's manipulative. And when the heart speaks to the people, it equals and balances everything else. So who wants the balance? You really want the balance because to get there, it takes a little bit of turbulence. Protest, yes, it's peaceful, and like I said, the ones that don't want it to look peaceful are the ones that wants to keep the fucking mess going. They'll keep you divided into individual things, like I said, because it keeps you distracted from actually seeing them for who and what they truly represent. You're busy fighting over, oh, well, this group of people were used as slaves, and that group of people was used as slaves. This group of people was the ones that did it, and that group did. You're all victims to each other, and that's the part where they're keeping you distracted from seeing who the root cause was. All if you looked and what you perceive to be the royal bloodlines or whatever, Wyoming, right? If you looked hard enough, you find out, well, no, they're all connected. People are saying that Pierre or that Justin Trudeau was related to the Queen or this or that or what have you, and this person related to that person, and Carney is said to be Krista Freeland's kid's godfather, which I seen that myself. So do you see the corporate business? Do you see that where it's putting that in as it's a corporate business? It's keeping it within the family. So write your criminal code and constitution. You live by it, but they don't. And they'll say, and nobody's above the wall. It's like Sutton, right? You know, people for misdemeanors, they get more of a penalty, which, that falls under Section 12 of the Constitution of Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms under the legal rights. It's classed as you're being subjected to cruel and unusual treatment and punishment. They say you're the cow. Yes, you're the cash cow. I don't wake up. You know, others is the milk. prostitution. Yes. Do you not see with the immigrants that the government is causing conflict between you? And you know, I wonder if you ask these people if they were really getting what they were promised, what answers you get. You know, people are saying, well, we're going to run all these brand new vehicles and everything like that. Maybe they got credits, maybe they did. But like I said, should we be doing that? Getting certain people subsidized? No. If they're going to give two subsidized to one, we should be giving it all. But in all actuality, the businesses should be forced to up their wages to a living wage. And a living wage is not $2,000 because that can't even give you a fucking emergency apartment in most places right now. For a single person in Canada, a living wage is $45,000 a year. That's a single person. No dependents, just himself. And some families have three, four children, and they're not even making it. So instead of going after the immigrants, why don't you go after the true culprits? A single person needs a yearly salary of $45,000 and up. This is after taxes. So you'd have to make what, 56, between 56 and $60,000 a year? Maybe my math is wrong. Maybe it's not. To live comfortably in Canada. Well, a family of four needs roughly 90,000 to $100,000. And I just got done saying about some families that have like three, four children. They're not even making 45,000. And that's both parents working. And you're from all that immigrants. You jobs, you get subsidized. You know, the government is doing that to keep you distracted on that so you don't see the fucking truth. But you know, hey, keep blaming them, right? Because that's all you had to do is blame other people instead of, going after the real culprits. Created a bully system. Yep, you create a bully system and then cry it. Some don't. But we're not here to help you. We're here to look for the ones that need help, the ones who want to stand up against injustice. And this here, remember, this is after taxes. After taxes means to be after it's taken off. I'm getting that before the part of where it says before taxes are removed. But that's another thing that they flip. Because that still leaves you in poverty. I'm going to put 1,700 for what it costs for a one-bedroom apartment because some places in Canada they're charging $1,200 for just a bedroom. Okay. Okay, this is on a single person. At $1,700 a month for a place. And it's usually not including anything that they do that. So they're saying before tax or after taxes. You're paying $20,000, 400 a year for rent money. That's not including your heat, your lights, your food, your transportation, your clothing, your Medicare, your gas for work. So is that a living wage just to get by without having any fun? Because you go get on the budget. They don't even know how to fucking budget themselves. They'll tell you you'll get credit, but they're the ones in charge of the credit. So you're putting all the money into Revenue Canada. People can't get a hold of them. Can't even get a hold of them to ask. Like you can't get a hold of them to ask anything. And if you don't have that in my account, well, are they not already getting shitballs of calls? People getting shitballs of spam with regards to, oh, Revenue Canada do this, you owe Revenue Canada that, but no, you were going to do it because Revenue Canada owes you. Even your person, you don't know how to read income tax forms. I'm looking to see if I can find what I'm looking for. I'm not seeing it. I thought it had the percentage that they did for your tax, but it said on that for 57 below 14%. They're putting in a sticker there. So let's have a little read about Wayne Long. The Secretary of State, Revenue Canada, Agency Financial Institution. Because it says in here, okay, House Commons Canada Liberal in 2015 federal election. He has since been reelected 3 times. So three times. But yet in here it says his maximum duration of legislative bodies. No House of Commons and no legislative assembly shall continue for longer than 5 years from the date fixed for the return of going to keep coming back to this because I'm going to keep asking the same question. How do they keep getting in? They're not even supposed to be going again. He has since been re-elected 2 times. In 2025, he was assigned a cabinet role as Secretary of State, responsible for the Canadian Revenue Agency and financial institutions. Hey, Wing Long, what's going on? You're in charge of Canada Revenue Agency. People are calling and calling and calling. And I can say the same for the other two. The minister. You know, it needs to be more than a 2 minute thing on the news. It needs to be plastered. And your government needs to be put on the spot. Put in the friggin' spotlight, not these these news people taking it like taking the bribes and everything like that. They got something on you? It's a legitimate question. Or is the money that important to you that you'd sell it to your own family to do it? There's a lot, like I feel a lot like people have their throat chakra, like their throat, their voice, the sort of Aaron is saying, let me fucking through. Instead of trying to shut other people down because you want to live in like you want to live in peace until it affects you, right? And then you're not going to be peaceful yourself. They say if the taxes goes towards like with regards to the firefighters, well if it goes towards them, why did they lose funding and your government got raises? See? Jesus, you guys, freaking holy crap. Aren't you done seeing people in the streets and then saying that they're the bane on the existence and they're not at all of the fucking government? But then they keep letting poor people, right? Get that? You're blaming people with no money. Why aren't you pointing at all the ones with all the fucking money? But oh wait, it's easier to attack people who you believe to be less than you or weaker than you. Don't go up against the strong man. Don't go up against Grasshopper. If you're not understanding why I said Grasshopper, go watch the movie Ants. Or sorry, not Ants, the Bug's Life, where the ants collect food and the grasshoppers come in and take it from you. It's like I feel that it's like the shaking. It's like I can feel it right back here. It's like People who know me will look at me like I have 100 heads. People who get it will say, okay. And then some will say, why all the dramatics? If you would believe it to be dramatics because you're not understanding what it is that you're witnessing, please go sit with it for a bit. Because your leaders know exactly what they're witnessing. Because they're the one attacking you. Your body will tell you when you're speaking truth because it'll be that moment. And then it'll feel like you just got smacked. It's spirit to spirit. That's what my channel is. Spirit to spirit teaches of going within self. If you're being affected by it, then you embody that spirit. That spirit from you brings more to you. You'll like me, hate me, love me, love me. I'll make you laugh, I'll make you cry, piss you off. You want to smack me upside the head. Sometimes you want to, punch me upside the head and even team up and gang up on me. But hey, that gets through every day because picking on something you think is hurting you, then hey, go for it. It's like, yep, sarcasm. It's the only way your ego can go boost, right? Yes. It's the answer to people. Why do you think your structures are built like if you look at it, if you look at an ant colony? How many different species of ants are there? Are they all the same color? Do they all have the same building technique? Do they all build around the same places? Maybe even if you get familiar with the way ants live, it might give you a better insight because they live much the same as we do. They have their queen and they have their army and you know that's what spirit is trying to explain to people. View yourself as everything and anything around you, right? See yourself as being what will be ants, trees, what have you, how you are as a physical entity. I told people think of the way they describe the stars and galaxies and planets or what have you. And then look at how they explain it. It's exactly the same. Energy is the true currency. As long as they can keep you moving. That's why you see money's not real. But you see paper money or possibly. How do you think they're creating it out of thin air? Because you are that energy. You are the money. When they go to another country for credit, you then become that country's slave, just so you know, okay? Because they sold you. You get that way. You go to a bank for credit. You borrow money. You're borrowing against someone else's money because it's all put into a collective pot, but they keep making it of themselves. And that's how they are these billionaires who que tu puedes quitar ese botón. See? Oleta, Oleta, ulissima ta careta tuturu sigue. Project Looking Glass. What do you think they're looking through? They're using enlightened beings. They're using people who have a sight, who see. That's why, people say, well, that's fucking nuts. That's crazy. The people like that don't exist. They're fucking right, they do. Well, why do you think the CIA and the FBI and, all these people who specialize in this or that? Yeah, they use sonars, but they use remote viewers a lot more. They use people who are able to travel through a perceived time beyond the veil. You got to you say they're in here, right? Who's that here? Again, biblical. Oh, I don't know. Sometimes people can only speak a foreign language. Chronicles from the clan of Amara. Shebuel was a descendant of Rishon, son of Moses. Right back. Oh my gosh. Okay, now I have to ask, okay, where's Grisham? Okay, like the son, because sometimes, they'll say the son of, but it actually represents the grandson of, grandson to. Grisham, son of Moses. So I have here my genealogy from my grandfather's side, on my mom's side. And when I looked into my second great Grammy's genealogy, I went back from the father. Okay. And when I went back, my fourth great grandfather was Gershom. Gershom. See? No. They used to spell it with an I, is it Abraham? And when I go back even further to my seventh great granddaddy, he was Moses Raphael. So I said, we're going to go back to biblical stuff, right? He was the chief officer of the treasuries. His relatives through Eliezer were Rehoboth, Zechariah, Agram, Zikri, Shalomoth, and his relatives were in charge of the treasury containing the gifts that King David, the family leaders, and just before Gershom, the fourth great granddaddy, my third great granddaddy was David. Ito to isipin mo papay si Kulembe, nuri. Huris itiya. And the generals and captains and other officers of the army had protected to the Lord, dedicated to the Lord. And those said people on here, they were rabbis. And my sixth great granddaddy on my mom's side, my second great granddaddy, his grandfather and great grandfather before him, had a religious seal. Shlomo and his relatives also cared for the gifts dedicated to the Lord by Samuel the shear. Sol, Sun, Kish. Abner, son of Ner, and Job, Jeb, son of Zeriah. All the others dedicated gifts were in their care too. From the clan of Israel came Kenina. He and his sons were given administrative responsibilities over Israel as officials and judges. See, I look at this and I know that there's truth, but I also know that there's also the interpretation of how it was meant to be perceived. But that's where it took me. So it took me to Grissom, David, and Moses, all of which are great. The names, coincidence? Maybe. But am I your average person? And I keep doing it. I said I work with spirit. So we're in a lot of rabbis with regards to what would have happened in the time of Christ, in the time of consciousness, the waking up, and you had to try to set an example. Donald Trump is saying, bring back the death penalty. Is that what he's saying? Like shit. I say everything is spirit to spirit. So is Donald Trump that spirit of the one that lost Jesus? Now he's saying, no, I gotta do things right because you want to make it happen. What do you perceive to be right? Because you're sitting there and all you're contemplating is your goal and trying to keep war so that in 2 years or what have you, you can get back in again. It's the same as the ones here. They're not fucking different. I'm going to get biblical. Mary Magdalene was in France, and she escaped France. My ancestors escaped France, and that was the first settlers here. And at that time, we were being ostracized for the religious beliefs. Very spiritual, not religion. most part, spiritual. I had somebody tell me how I said, well, like, if you know what family's fighting, so you don't consider that, well, good luck with that, right? It's like, yeah, the two separate sides fighting, and then I'm seeing it from both because each one, actually, they split off into two separate religions, which created even more. And now they're bringing it into the politics. It was always there because they were the ones that created your system. Why do you think really the church doesn't pay any for taxes? Why would they pay into their own system? They want to take as much from you because people get irritated. But I don't see a lot of churches really helping in any way because if they were actually helping in any way, people wouldn't be fucking poor and starving and begging. Don't they preach about helping people? Well, if they were actually helping people, people wouldn't be begging because helping them is going to give us your money. And it's short of fucking evading tax because you class yourself as non-profit. You make the most fucking profit of them all. Hey, maybe this is why TikTok banned me because I speak too much truth and cracks their system. Yeah, I'm sure you do that. So please excuse me if I don't respect the church structure. I respect the temple, which is you, the temple. I see none of their structures being really helpful or healing to the people. People are looking up there saying, no, you want the Galactic Federation to come in. They're already here and they're observing you right now. You've got others out there. People will laugh at this. But that just goes to show how closed-minded people really are. But you'll go watch these fucking movies and say it's fiction. You don't understand what my body goes through. Did you ever notice it's only when you're telling the truth a lot of the time that people will attack you? You know, I'm legitimately asking questions because I know everybody can relate to what it is that I'm bringing forward with those types of questions because no one person can tell me that they never experienced it. So I guess I'm asking, how did it feel when you did? I said I can. And I'm always channeling. Sometimes I'm speaking the words that you want to say, but don't say them. And hey, I guess then I look like the asshole, right? So I do it and say it, even if it makes me look like an asshole. Sometimes I'm a little asshole because your lame is insane. He's the biggest fucking asshole. I know it's just like, what the fuck? Yeah, no, you're actually like this is the spirit channel. And I said, like, there's a fucking there's a spirit war going on. The secreto lo dice lo que si tu poricata. I don't believe in God. God wouldn't let this stuff happen. All the respect, it's not God letting it happen, it's you. Something here to make people laugh, especially in the time that what you're going through right now. So I'm seeing in some, it's never ending because they're in the crossfire of it. They're the ones being affected. See, some families, they're living, their parents are living with them, and other, like, just the family is living together, and there are some structures to do that. So your life is a little easier than a family that's struggling, right? Because you're not seeing what it is that they're seeing and what they're actually experiencing. So if you're not seeing it, then all you do is like, some people say, "Oh well, I don't have a problem with revenue." Well, you're one of the very few, if you want to say that, because maybe you're saying you don't have a problem with revenue Canada because maybe you're not the one trying to find it. Any province that thinks the way that the government system works, that the tax system works, is so far in an egotistical run system because it's not, like I said the other day, it's not the individual province that owns rights to anything. It's the people because it's the people's country. Ed è tutto quello che ha dato insieme. Government puts funding into programs. Okay, there's huge groups. If you're an entrepreneur, you had to work in the past 10 years. Okay, so somebody who has been like unwell and fighting something or what have you, and they hadn't worked, or they were at home with their children and they hadn't worked, or you can't do that. But it's government funded. And people say that that's fair. Because I had that exact conversation with the woman who lied to me and said that this other person was not a manager of anything, which they actually were. She works as a nonprofit organization, so another controlled environment. Intergovernment funds it. The corporations. Your tax dollars will go to keeping big fucking corporations afloat because they don't want to lose their profits. So they make you pay. And then shut down anyways because they go bankrupt. They go low. But yet they stole our money. Now, they all put it in an overseas account. Hence why your money is going to different countries. But your energy is so. So, now I will ask you a question. Maybe some of the immigrants are coming in and they're working for their families' businesses, and the government's funding that because I just read it on there. Fire their family. But it's still your government that you should be going after. How or why should it be your government? and going after them because of like families hiring family members and what have you, and then giving them the incentive because your government is who put it in place with regards to being able to hire family members and evade. But that's where they're all connected. But these ones that are working for your family, they're still contributing something to taxes. But the corporation of them, is it possible that maybe they're trying to tell what we perceive to be our modern, American dream? Seriously, those are different things that you ask yourself. But you don't go after the people. Maybe they know, maybe they don't know. But people who say that they need to go or what have you, are fucking ignorant. Maybe they could say that maybe you need to go. Your ancestors immigrated here. Say about taxes with regards to the tariffs. It's a tax on people. They say, like with churches, you can claim it on your income tax. How many people actually keep that stuff and really claim it on the income tax? Shouldn't that be the affiliation of them being the ones to pay the taxes on it? Because they are the ones that received it. I mean, you say, because like I said, most people won't get that back because they won't file for it. And those structures know it. They're banking on it. But all proceeds that you receive, you got to claim taxes on all of it. They're receiving something, but they're saying that, oh, well, we're doing this for the betterment of the people. We're doing this for the good of the people. No, you're not. No part of your structure are you doing it for only, your own, right? And I'm not talking about what we call peasants. Go grease your hands. I'm not shooting the people down. I'm not shooting. I'm saying what your structure is like. They are what they keep calling people, and that's what makes them different. They are the saints. They create the sinners. was integrated into a narrative, like society. And so, I had it's like early in the year, this morning, we get up early, like, I go to sleep, just wake up part of, you know, astral travel and vision being it. I was like, we're at a wall, and in this wall, there was an elastic band, and the elastic band represented the wall was the center, was the belly of the beast. The elastic was the intestines, the digestive system, digesting information, sorting through what goes where throughout the body, throughout the system. And then you come to the truth. You're sorting it away and you find what's truth and what's best for the body, anything else, any documents. So you come and you stretch, and your gut feeling, the intuition, it's pulling it, it's stretching it, it's stretching it, it's stretching until all of a sudden that elastic band snaps. And that is when the truth just shines through, because it just pulls the lies apart and all that's left is truth. It's because your gut feeling is telling you the truth. It's giving you that knowing, that intuition that's saying, hey, stop looking right here, start looking here. It's like, yeah, I can feel that. Fíjate, Shrenusa. Any of you like sitting there and all of a sudden like you feel something, and all of a sudden you just get this weird feeling through your body. It's an off buzz. It's like you should have thought of something like that. If you're familiar with the series Once Upon a Time, Ready Weekly, and the ones that work for Peter Pan, which have Saint Peter and did like the boys. He said to get rid of magic, but the only way he had magic was because of an energy source, right? A fake energy, much like you are the energy yourself. Those were the first words that I screamed out after I went through a crucial part of my awakening. And it was the day that I watched Ancient Aliens, and they had a wall full of hieroglyphics, and that's when I first started speaking in a different tone. And I had a tesseract, and that was really around the same time where I had looked up. It was just right at Easter time, and it was Good Friday. We had a storm, and that was in 2020. The winds and stuff were clearing up, and what have you, the sun was coming out from the clouds, and the sun was out from the clouds, and it was right at the sun. All of a sudden, the center of the sun started spiraling and opening up, and it was like I just looked right through the sun. And after that, I started having dreams of these looking up into the sky and the Earth planet-like things called moons, different sizes, shapes, and then I started having visions where I was seeing big other planets next to me. Even had one where it was like I was floating, like I was up in space and I was on some kind of rope floating. And I actually have a picture, which is really fucked up because it looks like a rainbow crystal being, and you can see it's like a string attached to it. And I have that picture. It's like Christmas is the time of year. Christmas time just passed. It was like 6:30, 6:33, somewhere around there, where I was like, I was awake. And I was just kind of laying in my bed, and I kind of turned and I looked out the bedroom window, and it was like a plane. But see, it went to start slow, and then it got really fast, and then it spun around and it came up over, like up above over my pond, and it was zig and zagging. It was triangular shape, and then it just stopped and hovered, and then it was like, and this was the fucked up part. It was like it was like a sleigh, and there were like four reindeer, but they weren't male reindeer. They were female reindeer. And there was a man sitting in it, and he was waving like this to me. And then beside him, right around him, it was like it was like an abominable snow, like a snowman. And they were on a hoverboard. It looked like a saucer. Like it's the coast. And I'm just looking at this, and then all of a sudden you hear the upstairs door open. This is Christmas Day. Like 6:43, he goes down, and he says that he just heard Santa scurrying around the chimney. Coincidence? But people say, "Oh, you were just imagining it." Was because see, I know spirit, And I know when the different spirits come forward through people. So it's like, do you think I don't know that I come off as being crazy, but I'm pretty well I'm pretty awake and aware. And yeah, there are a lot of fucked up things going on in this world. People are saying about, with their tax dollars, where it's going. And you think it's going into welfare people? Seriously. You think it's going into the poor people? It's a crime for the poor to steal from the rich to give to the poor. But it's called government, and it's okay for the rich to steal from the poor and give to the rich. And if people don't make sense of what I just said there, like, Lord help you, man. Like, oh my gosh, it's like it's true. You steal a loaf of bread, you get a fucking criminal record. But they steal from you and they get recognition for, oh, well, we did this for somebody. Well, you stole the fucking money in order to do it. And you didn't do it for the poor people. You did it for your pyramid family. Like the lower people, they work to make the higher people rich. And they say they're given the opportunity to be rich. Well, hey, how about you leap into the same type of clients that you had because you actually fucking stole them from them? Or, some cases you took the money and, there was no real incentive. As long as you had that first bundle of money, you were okay. Because, hey, the pyramid scheme kept going up, right? For every sale that someone else made, you got more interest on it than what they would get. And Revenue Canada is the legal scheme. But you'll say, oh, well, what they do, their schools and everything like that. If they're doing so much, why are so many people fucking screaming about it? I know someone who, like, I know one, two, for teachers. There's a few of them, and they have to buy certain supplies for their classroom. And your money's paying for that, is it? People laugh when somebody says that food should be free because food actually is free. Food is all around you, and that's not that's without eating. tell you what you need. Tear it down, mow it, get rid of it. But then you'll see it for sale in your nurseries. Or they will be selling it. The corporations will be selling it themselves and making a profit off it and telling you, oh, go get this green pizza. You know, the other last week, oh man, I want to go vendors in junk food. Big bag of really salty plain chips, 4 or 5 chocolate bars. I shared the chocolate bars. And a 2 liter bottle of ginger ale, which was odd because for a 500 milliliter bottle of ginger ale, it was $3.47. And for a 2 liter, I believe it was $3.69. And that was the first time I had pop in a few years. I can feel people thinking that I'm lying. And if I drink pop, it would be ginger ale because it's not as horrible as the rest. It actually has a ginger taste to it. Like it's better, makes your my belly feel better. But after it goes flat, oh my geez, never taste it. Because I said spirit's going to take it wherever it needs to go. I'm just being honest. Like for me to preach to somebody and say bring me junk food, I eat it sometimes like once in a while. I eat a lot of vegetables and things, but once in a while because it's that inner child that just you deserve that treat. Because in the end, like you eat so many chocolate bars and you feel like shit afterwards. Well, that's on you. It doesn't affect anybody else, or at least it shouldn't. My question is why doesn't like they like auditing the people, but has Revenue Canada ever been audited as you know churches maybe they should be audited to find out what money that they really feel to nonprofit organizations because your tax dollars are going there because they're funding put all this stuff into place because they know that the everyday man is not going to or anything with it because there's so much bullshit connected to it that it's hard to sift through the shit like a diamond, right? Yes, lo que fue See, I'll be honest, with this, there's one person I give real good credit to for sure for getting me to wake up and start seeing the political aspect of things, to see deep within the government. And it's my nephew. He's got a pretty good political view. It's certain parts, like especially within the government right now, no matter what side you're on, you have to take from each political party, whether independent or affiliated with Green, NDP, or blah, 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 and there's many others, because some of them are even religious, which, if you sat back and looked, you would actually see that they're all affiliated with certain religions. So it becomes a religious agenda. Look at Diane Noy. No, I'm not lying about it. It's easy to see if you go look at all the different political parties, because you have your two, three main ones, okay? And would that be Christian, Catholic, and Islam, or Muslim? You know, both split off from each other, just gave it a different name. It's like having wants it one way, whole wants it another way, but they don't see the people, the ones in the middle. So people will say, oh, they're full of light, or they're dark, or they're evil and they're good. So you say you demonize the feminine, so you demonize the mother, and she's the devil. She's the one in hell. And then you have the one you say the father, the sky god, but and then you have the child. So the children are put in the middle of the war between the masculine and the feminine, the superior and the one that is that you're underneath. When you're in a universe, how can the earth be either under or above, and the sky above or under, if you're in what you perceive to be around the atmosphere? This just took a turn. It's, it's that part of making sense. I was watching, like it came up a couple times in Brampton, where this car, the police were around it in this car, and somehow it had a set of metal stairs on top of it. And people were commenting. And my comment was, well, maybe Jim Carrey left behind the stairs when he left the Truman Show. It leaves you thinking, right? Because people say we're in a dome. And, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump said, well, breaking the dome, breaking the glass. See, the Earth is inside the energy. It's inside the Earth. The Earth. Enlightenment crashing the glass ceiling. Waking up and crashing the glass ceiling. See, right now you're going to see a lot of perceived propaganda, and there's a lot of truth to it. And a lot of them involved. But it's that part of they're trying to throw each other under the bus. The part there where it says the church. I'm in my temple every day. Walk outside, I'm in the temple. I sit here, I'm in the temple. Just because you go in a building, it's not just people, it's someone else's. And no matter how hard somebody says that a building is a church of God, it's never a building that is the church of God. So if people say they want to bring God back into the church, it's not about bringing a Bible back into the church and teaching you about that because you're creating more division because you're teaching you about all the different fights that they have. So how's that any different than the church doing now? Except you're creating more fear. Kids get taught how to do math, but they don't get taught the representation of money. They don't get taught any real skills in school except to sit down, shut up, and raise your hand if you have to go. Nobody knows how to farm. Why? Why? Okay, how about you get, instead of getting people with college degrees, how about you get people who actually have experience in different areas so that they can teach them without all the fucking theory that goes with it, which is what hijacks the mind. Because most people are hands-on, learn from experience. Bring back the older generations, bring into the schools ones who know how to can food, know how to grow food, instead of making them wait until university and say, hey, you're going to learn our way. How about instead of learning in an industrial manner, how about learning from nature? Schools could be doing like having community gardens and using that as a way to teach the children. But will you do that? Fuck no. Why? Why would you do that? They might learn how to grow their own fucking food, and then you don't have access to it. But that would make too much sense, right? And their motto is common sense, which they have no common sense whatsoever. They just have, you know, what they perceive. Oh, I'm good with money. No, you're good at stealing money. They just found out that that a couple used a publicity stunt to say that they were a couple just so that they could sell tickets. You're stupid enough to go buy them, right? But, revenue can't have purposely got rid of. And they weren't really secure lines anyways, which revenue can't always used to have secure lines. But people can use their personal cell phones too. But I always thought your information was supposed to be secure. That it's like shit, it's moving. Hang on. Hey, just saying. Seriously, somebody's gonna address the elephant in the room, and you know, we all have to stop living in denial of the truth of it all because it's getting to the point where it's fucking laughable. It's somebody, there's no sense of trying to tell anybody anything anymore. Just like watch it all burn down. But hey, the more people you wake up and help to see it, the sooner you're going to get to the positive outcome. And it's not going to be the people that are the ones first. Because there's going to be an awful lot of fucking ego deaths. They doing. elderly people running Canada. There's so many things that you're actually entitled to, but you don't know it, and you're at the income tax. Nobody will tell you what you're entitled to. Truly entitled to. Because hey, I would have been entitled to a disability part of income tax for quite a few years now. So am I allowed to go for back then? They audit you anytime. But hey, how are you supposed to go after something you don't know is there? Guess you gotta be part of the boys club, right? You got the people running the 1 million business that can family. I just had the sensation where I just stood up and I turned around and pulled my pants down and my ass. I, I was born that way. And by me speaking up, if that means that I don't have a lot of money, well, that's fine. I'd rather have integrity. Finance, secretary, and minister, and everything like that, they don't give two shits. They're really in Canada. I've yet to see any of them really do any good action that was truly beneficial to the population and not for its own selfish reasons. So it's like being jealous that someone else has money, you know, and then I have to ask, okay, what do people to be jealous of what they have? Because if they do, then that in itself tells me that they're not happy with themselves and that they have to have somebody else envy them for it. it with my chest. Yeah. It's like if it's spirit stealing it from the attacks because that's where they attack. It's like you feel it sometimes as though they try to rip your heart out. When did I run into manipulating energy? First time. I knew that I had a hold of it and it was really upsetting my body. And now it's just I go in and find the spot that I need to work on and move out, and then I connect with it, and then I tweak it, and move it, and then it's like a light over, and it just, and my body expands. It doesn't always feel good. It can be pretty intense sometimes. Total vomit, everything just it's like putting in a sealed container, trying to hold that explosion in, then it just expands, it goes beyond it. Because the explosion becomes so intense that it can't. And the more you try to hold something in, the more intense the explosion is going to be because it just builds up and builds up and builds up. And then when it can no longer contain itself in the environment, it bursts again. That's what you're seeing with your son. Chronos development. Supermassive at the rate of creativity. Yep. See, and at a huge 9 years old. In the middle of the previous people look up at the sky and look at strange things. We're the ones that are talking to other people. And sisters to a different existence. But hey, I'm the crazy one. Mhm. You know, it's sense of fame to a paranormal place. And they still haven't gotten back to me the last time. And I said, great catch. See, the thing is, this person really messed up because, you know, they look like they're on a fucking commercial. The same person. Like, how many acting gigs do you run? And who are you trying to fool? See, even people who work in the paranormal field, which is really strange. It's like it's a museum, and when you go in the back, there's offices back there, but there's a set of stairs going up. And when I was there, the guy took me around the corner company in charge. The building. Shoving up there and it's trying to pull me in. It wants me up there. I didn't come to expose them. I came to help them heal, to get their story. And there was a number of things that I said that I was experiencing in there. And I knew nothing about the place. Because you don't, if you're trying to do something, you don't go and learn about it before you go. You go and allow it to channel. But I didn't come here to make a profit off of the spirit's pain or its story. I'm not here as entertainment or to be someone's cash cow. But I know some who would use people like that as the cash cow. See, so while you're trying to read me, I'm reading you. Except I'm reading you a little deep. You can even test people. Just to see if they're being honest. You know, and I'm sitting here and I do it. And someone help me sit here and tells me. So I'll play along. But I'll keep that hope that you maybe through that lie, they will eventually get truthful about what they say. But I get tired of hearing people say fake it till you make it. Don't you think you faked it when you breathe? I guess it's easier to fake than actually do the work to do it to make it, right? So there's people out there that are in competition with other people and the people that these people are in competition with don't even know that they're in fucking competition. Which makes it sad for people who are like making it a competition. Some of you talk as long as spirit has me talking. Because there's one that has what to say. I get guided to certain things because this is stuff that I don't even never even thought of thinking of. I just knew before I didn't talk about politics that knew how Trump just wanted to shut up. I don't watch the news. sometimes I see certain things, like I scroll, I said, just to see where society is. But it all leads to the, and it's right. The Chinese say that people get credit. If you don't have credit, you're nothing. If you don't have credit, you can't have. If you don't have credit, you can't have a house. You can't have a car. Because people most of the time don't make enough money to actually live a good life. Because it was always that the career they for. So that tells me that that's common. So hey, but I must say you did. They publicized themselves. Che tutto esce da chi mostra che chiara che and you know the strange thing about Leva was the one that believed and that stood up for man. Is that the Levites? Maybe. I'm asking because you know it's rabbis who said Jesus was a rabbi, which means teacher. Did anybody notice that after they opened the tomb of St. Peter, Donald Trump started acting strange? The invasion. Say everybody's spirit jumpers. You know, the rituals. You know, didn't Donald Trump show that he wanted to be the Pope? He was the first fucking Pope, Peter. He wanted to be like Napoleon. Well, Napoleon was a dictator. People say about Jesus. You say Jesus was a rabbi and he's Jewish or what have you, and Donald Trump converted to Judaism or Jewish. It's showing you a narrative. And then Superman, the king, Like, people really did not get, like, people did not get the concept of Jesus. Raise a little hell, raise a little hell. You said Lord, what is the Lord? Someone will be a landlord who's trying to take up your landlord. You've even people, I've seen people do memes and put images of Jesus standing behind Donald Trump. You know, I have to ask, if I love Jesus, it's not something what you perceive to be Jesus. It was the son of Mary, but not Mary, not Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene. Yeshua was the son of Mary. And the two families didn't want Mary Magdalene and Yeshua. Jesus was the Lord. That's why it had. He did the 40 days, 40 nights. Did you say? It's if you look at the family of Mary, her father did 40 days and 40 nights, and others in her family did 40 days and 40 nights. Mary Magdalene's Magdalene, she grew up in the church. And that's what she had. Much like Jehovah Witness, if we don't agree or believe the way they do, or not just Jehovah Witness, sometimes in Christian people, people honor. Mary Magdalene did not agree with the structure. She was rebellious. But people won't believe that story because I can feel it right here. Todo quieto, rico, nunca está en tú, ¿verdad? Suena mi Gloria muy. Mary Magdalene embodied both. She was the love and she was the justice. She called it out, and that's why she got Asher. That's why she had stones thrown at her, went against everybody's beliefs. Matrix calling. Do we need help through a system? One that works for people. Because this one doesn't. You need all those other people in there? No, because they're just filling each other's pockets because they're all family. And when you have something like that, doesn't it pose a conflict of interest? So I say all that they're doing right now, it's all treason people. Because if you look into things, say about treason on the Queen, well, the Queen flashed you as these people, and she likely had, letters on you, which means that if they're committing treason on the people, seriously, that's real. They call a letter. Your music, I don't know, I mean, it sounds like a trust. It's you that I'm getting right there. It's kind of like a standstill. It's like Queen trying to speak out and say the injustice. Because in 2021, it was like before she died, I was channeling her, and she was apologizing to people for what she had done. Yeah, yeah. These are like everyone has their own opinion. You don't got to agree with mine, but it's more sitting back and if you can't have people hear you face to face, you know, they're going to listen or they're not. They're going to see it from a different perspective or they're not. They're going to open their eyes and see for what it is or they're not. But it's not a matter of stopping because one day that will quit because it will help them to see it because then it will be right in their face. So, hey, that being said, I'm sending you all much love, light, and blessings. Most importantly, very good health to everyone who wants to come into this. And so be faithful, pray, be supportive, be yourself, be your authentic self. Truly find yourself, and truly kind to others. And know that you have more strength than you can comprehend. Your voice is the sword. Your truth is the sword. So learn how to wield it. Speak out about the injustice, about the elephant in the room, because you can make a difference. And everything is not as it is not that phrase that they say it is what it is. It only is what it is because you keep it the same. Maybe you feel like you can't change someone else's mind, but you can change your mind. Señora, gracias por aquí ser mucho agradecido.